All right, we're back for another deep dive, and I've been looking forward to this one.
Oh, yeah.
This is
a cool one.
Yeah, this is a cool one. This is I found this this is an RC aircraft.
Okay.
Called the Fish Eagle V22. And
interesting.
What caught my eye with this one is it's listed as a vertical takeoff and landing fixed wing aircraft. So it makes me think of like a hybrid between a plane and a helicopter.
Wow.
Yeah.
So VTOL capabilities, typically you see that in helicopters, not really in planes.
Right, yeah.
So how are they going to do both?
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, how does that work?
And so,
yeah.
I mean, I have some ideas, but I was hoping that you could lend your expertise and kind of help us unpack this a little bit.
Well, when we're talking about RC aircraft pushing boundaries, I mean, this Fish Eagle V22, this is right on the cutting edge.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially with the VTOL.
Yeah, and the name, Fish Eagle V22,
–
really reminded me of the Osprey, the military aircraft with the tilting rotors.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering, are they trying to do something similar?
It's possible. I mean, the source that we're looking at doesn't explicitly say tilting rotors, but it does say vertical takeoff and landing and then fixed wing.
Right.
So they're definitely trying to achieve both like a helicopter and a plane.
Yeah.
It would be pretty wild to think that they adapted this kind of military technology to the hobbyist world. But I guess anything is possible these days.
Yeah.
Especially with the miniaturization and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be quite a feat, though.
Yeah, and one thing that stood out to me in the specs is that it mentions it has 6 channels control.
Okay.
Now, I'm just a simple man. You know, I've never flown anything more complicated than a toy drone that I got for Christmas one year. So what does that actually mean in terms of me being able to fly this thing?
So think of it this way. Each channel is like a separate function that you're going to control on this aircraft. So you've got 6 channels. I mean, 6 different things you're manipulating.
Okay.
You're going to have your throttle. That's your speed. You're going to have your rudder for turning left and right.
Okay.
Ailerons for banking or tilting the wings.
Okay.
And then the elevator that pitches the nose up and down.
Right.
Then on top of all of that, you're probably going to have 2 channels that are dedicated just to the VTOL system.
Wow.
So that you can transition from vertical flight to horizontal flight.
Okay, so I'm basically flying like a little mini Osprey here.
Pretty much.
Yeah. In a way.
So 6 channels, that's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
So we're not talking beginner here.
No, definitely not a beginner aircraft.
Okay.
The source says intermediate to expert skill level required.
Got it.
So you're going to need some practice.
For sure.
Coordinating all those controls.
Yeah.
Especially when you're transitioning between those flight modes.
Right, yeah.
That could be tricky.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's not like flying a plane, not like flying a helicopter.
Right. It's like flying both at the same time.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
One other thing that stood out to me in the specs was that it lists the takeoff weight.
Okay.
At 1,150 grams.
Yeah.
Now, for this type of RC aircraft, is that considered heavy?
1,150 grams. I mean, that's on the heavier side.
Okay.
Which suggests it's probably pretty sturdy build.
Okay.
Because it is made of foam.
Right.
Which is an interesting choice.
Yeah, is that unusual?
It's not unusual for RC aircraft, but it is unusual for something this complex.
Okay.
Foam adds durability. You know, it makes it more forgiving if you have a rough landing.
Sure.
Which is likely if you're flying outdoors.
Yeah.
You don't want to crash this thing on concrete.
Definitely not, yeah.
So, yeah, foam is a good choice.
Okay.
It's a good material.
So then, looking further down the specs, it mentions that the Fish Eagle has 2 3510 electric motors.
Okay.
And a single 2520 motor.
Interesting.
Why would it need 3 motors?
That's a great question, and it's a good observation. That right there kind of gives us a clue as to how they're pulling off this whole hybrid functionality.
Okay.
My guess, and again, the specs don't explicitly say this, but my guess is that the 2 3510 motors, which are probably brushless motors, given their power and efficiency, those are going to be dedicated to providing lift for takeoff and landing.
Okay.
And then the 2520 motor, that's probably geared towards the forward motion, just like in a traditional airplane.
Okay. That's a neat theory.
Yeah.
I'm still a little skeptical how would they make sure that the transition between the vertical and the horizontal flight modes is smooth.
Right. That's going to be the big engineering hurdle.
Right.
how do you manage all those motors seamlessly?
Yeah.
So they're probably going to need sophisticated electronic speed controllers.
Okay.
And maybe even some pretty clever programming in there to manage the power distribution to all those motors, depending on which flight mode you're in.
Right.
It's going to be a pretty sophisticated system to make that work.
Yeah. So there's some things that the specs don't tell us, though, that I find a little curious.
Okay.
For one, there's no mention of flight time.
Yeah.
Which seems like kind of an important thing to know.
It is important for an RC aircraft. How long can you fly it for before you have to land and recharge?
Right.
So the fact that they don't mention it
Yeah.
makes you wonder, are they still working on that? Are they trying to optimize the battery system
Right.
for maximum efficiency?
Okay.
Or maybe it's because different battery configurations will drastically affect the flight time.
Yeah.
So they don't want to list the specific flight time.
Right.
Because it's going to vary so much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Depending on your setup.
Yeah. And then there's another oddity in the specs.
Okay.
Under is electric.
Yeah.
It clearly says no battery.
No battery.
Yeah.
It's electric.
Yeah. How can it be electric and have no battery?
Well, I mean, it could be a typo.
Okay.
You see those sometimes in product listings? Sure, yeah.
But maybe they're selling the aircraft without a battery.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you have to supply your own.
Okay.
This be a way to keep the initial cost down.
Right.
And also, it allows experienced users to customize their setup.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
they want to use a bigger battery for longer flight time,
Right.
or a smaller battery for less weight,
Okay.
that would give them the flexibility to do that.
All right, so to recap here, it sounds like we've got a really unique RC aircraft
Yeah.
that's trying to blend the functionality of a helicopter and a plane, maybe using some technology inspired by the Osprey.
Possibly.
It sounds pretty complex to operate.
Yes.
Definitely not for beginners.
No.
And there's still some mysteries around the battery and the flight time.
Yeah, we need more information.
So I want to pose this question to you, the listener.
Okay.
If you could see this Fish Eagle V22 in action,
Yeah.
what would be the most amazing thing about witnessing this hybrid aircraft in flight?
That's a good question.
Yeah, what do you think? I think it would be. Seeing it defy gravity.
Yeah.
You know, going from vertical to horizontal so smoothly.
Right.
It would be like magic.
Yeah.
It would be like watching the future.
Yeah, yeah.
It really challenges everything we think we know about aircraft.
Exactly.
It's a glimpse into the future of hobbyist aviation.
Yeah, yeah.
Where the lines between different types of aircraft continue to blur.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
So I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and of course, a huge thank you to our expert for helping us understand this crazy aircraft.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep exploring.